265 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. A Football Friday. Johnny Mac, I think, stays left to go down and catch some inside info from Nick Sirianni. Instead, I'm going to get the inside info and opinion from Tone DeShields, who's going to jump in and take Johnny Mac's spot for the final hour of the week. All right, DeShields, you've heard all the craziness that McMullen and Groats and I have been talking about over the last hour, if not the last couple of days. You want to take a pot shot at me and say you're outside the box thinking it's just crazy and or stupid, McDonald, that Jalen Hurts could be activated but not play and just told, listen, we're giving you a clipboard. The game plan is to not have you play, but in case we desperately need you, then we're willing to take a little bit of a risk with your shoulder. Give me the percentage chance that I could be onto something.
Well, I don't know if I have any inside information for you, but I think I might have to lean with Bob Groats on this one, and that's hardly ever.
Bob Groats and McMullen, they both told me I was nuts.
I wouldn't necessarily call you nuts because you're my friend, Jody Mac. I would never call you nuts, but I think I'm more likely to lean towards Bob Groats' scenario. The fact that Jalen Hurts is more likely to play.
And, you think he's going to start?
Well, I'm still relatively unsure. But the narrative that makes the most sense to me is having him play, getting a big lead, and then sit him rather than allowing Gardner Minshew to go out there, play, and then if things get a little hairy, you throw him in and break the glass like you always say. So I just think the Bob Groats scenario is a bit more likely, especially based on how his coaching staff has handled their business thus far. They're more likely to start a guy, then sit him versus allowing him to just sit on the bench and then all of a sudden throw him in there, cold and expect him to save the day.
All right, Johnny made an interesting point toward the tail end of Bob Groats' visit with us about the Eagles' run game, because Groats said he expects Eagles to run the ball, could be very effective. Saints aren't great at stopping the run. They're certainly in the second half of the NFL in that category. But the Eagles didn't run it all that effectively last week. And you've got to remember when Jalen Hurts is playing, he's part of the running game, and that boosts the running game overall. If Gardner Minshew is starting this week, even if Jalen Hurts is starting, I think they'll certainly cut back on the number of designated runs the quarterback gets. If they don't, then the play calling should certainly be called into question by the powers that be above them. You got faith that Miles can have a breakout game this week?
Well, Miles has been in the doghouse lately. He's had a slump, and I fully expect Miles Sanders to bounce back. It's you see with him, it's not really a matter of talent or what he can do. It's just a matter of what you don't want him to do, and that's to not turn the football over. We know he's had an issue with that in his career, and He's been doing well with it all season. But right now in the season, he has 2 fumbles in 2 key spots, and I think that's what's more alarming than anything. It'd be different if this happened in the first quarter, then he tightened up, but it's like it's always in the biggest moment where you need him to step up the most, where he fumbles the ball, and I'm not sure what that is. But again, you brought up a good point about Jalen Hurts not being there and how much it affected the running game. And I've been telling people this for a long time. As a matter of fact, I've been telling people this all season. I understand Miles Sanders is having a career year. He's eclipsed over 1,000 yards. He has double-digit touchdowns for the first time in his career. He's having an amazing season, right? But let's not pretend like this offensive line isn't making his job 80% easier. This offensive line with any running back really can average at minimum 4 yards a carry. Miles is averaging 5 yards a carry. So the differential between that is 1 yard, right? So yeah, Miles Sanders, he makes your running attack 1 yard better in terms of average. But Miles Sanders, you saw how limited he was without Jalen Hurts back there. The Jalen Hurts factor is very real. And, we can't pretend like Miles Sanders isn't a beneficiary of that. I don't know if Miles Sanders is a dynamic enough running back where he can be the running game. Right now, he's a part of the running game, but I don't think he's solely the running game.
All right, fair enough. Part of that running game, as you said, is the fact that the Eagles have not one of, for me, the best offensive line in all of football. But that's when they're all healthy, and that's not going to be the case with Lane Johnson out for, at a minimum, the next 2 games. Jack Driscoll stepped in last week. He's talked up a good game, that he's a very good backup. That's an Eagle strength depth on their offensive line. I'm sorry, there's a drop-off. You just don't take a guy like Lane Johnson out of the lineup and not think there's going to be a drop-off. how big a drop? Oh, is it going to be noticeable to the regular football fan, not the all 22 breakdown game film, watch the contribution of the right tackle every single play, just the regular Eagle fan? Are they going to be able to tell that, oh, shoot, we're in trouble? The reason this game was competitive, the reason we lost, God forbid that happens, that the Saints is, yeah, we got nothing off the right side of the line, and Jack Driscoll is no Lane Johnson. You got any fear that transpires on Sunday?
Well, I mean, it all depends who they go up against, right? And I know the Saints, they have a pretty good offensive line with Cam Jordan and those guys, Davenport. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Driscoll responds to that. I think it's going to be imperative for them to put Driscoll in situations that he can thrive in. I know this isn't always about him, but he's essentially the weak link on the offense. So if you want to preserve that weak link, if you want to try to protect him as much as possible, it's going to be imperative for them to get him to get him going forward instead of starting him off going backwards. And I mean, leaning on your running game earlier on, getting his feet wet, getting him warm, and then get him going in the passing and in the pass pro. Because again, Jack Driscoll, he's not a bad player at all, but he's a backup. He's a backup for a reason. He's not as dynamic as Lane Johnson. That's obvious. Anytime you lose Lane Johnson, like you said, it's going to be a huge drop off. Anytime you lose any player of that caliber, it's going to be a huge drop off. So the Eagles could be in they could be in a worse position. They could be in a situation where they have no one to rely on, but Jack Driscoll has shown an ability to come in and be relatively serviceable. So again, it's going to be important for them to put him in situations that he can thrive in. One of my biggest issues, I think this happened in the Jacksonville game. I can't when Mailata went down, and I think they threw Driscoll out there. I felt like at that moment they were trying too hard to pass the ball, and my mindset was get this guy going forward. And that's not the only game it's happened in. If you want to protect these lesser experienced linemen, get them going forward, and then at that point you build their confidence instead of having them go backwards and now they're backpedaling and they're dealing with a spectacular pass rusher in a Cam Jordan or a Micah Parsons or a Josh Allen for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So again, it's going to be important for them to put him in positions that he can thrive in.
I like your line of thinking, except for one thing. The Eagles are a pass team. They have to pass. If they don't pass, then they're doing their chances a disservice because, and I want to take a pot shot at myself here, when you've got A.J. Brown, he's having the kind of year you have. When you've got Dallas Goedert, who comes back, gets the ball thrown to him 3 times, make 3 plays, gains almost 50 yards. My question is not what my question would be, why didn't you throw it to him more? I would have tried to get the ball to him more because Quez wasn't necessarily getting it done on 50-50 balls in the middle of the field. And DeVonta Smith, which is where I'll take a pot shot at myself, both here on Birds 365. I did 3 shows on WIP this week. He killed it last week. He maybe had the best game of his NFL career.
It's up there.
And because they lost to the Cowboys, Jalen Hurts didn't play. They turned the ball over 4 times. All these things, Lane Johnson got hurt. All these things transpired. 3rd and 30 conversion. It kind of flew under the radar that DeVonta Smith had this unbelievable game and is right there. The Eagles are lucky enough. They don't have a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2. No, they got a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 1. I wouldn't even go wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 1A. No, they got 2 flat out ones. A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith are both that good. And I feel badly that we haven't given DeVonta enough props because it was as wild a week as it was Cowboys, the way the game played out. Oh, by the way, he was a star on Sunday against the Cowboys.
Yeah, DeVonta, man. I've always had a bromance with DeVonta Smith, man. I just feel like he's just a pro's pro. He's low key. He gets the job done. He's not flashy at all. He kind of reminds me of Marvin Harrison a little bit. Just that long frame, that lanky frame. A guy that's just so fundamentally, so technically sound. Sure, he may not be as explosive as his counterpart Jalen Waddle, right? I think they both have 2 different styles in terms of how they approach the wide receiver position. Jalen Waddle's more of the yak guy, the sparky, the spark plug, the quick change in direction, the explosion, right? More stout. And then DeVonta Smith, he's more of the more technically sound route runner. Footwork is tremendous. sideline work is tremendous. Hands like glue. Again, not flashy at all, but DeVonta, man, he, like you said, he arguably had one of his best games of his career. And, a game that comes close to me, or a game that I probably would trump over that because of the flashy plays of it all, is maybe that Washington game earlier this year. That game, he had so many big catches, so many so many big moments, so many highlight reel worthy plays. I feel like those two games go neck and neck. Maybe people will put the Dallas Cowboys game above that because of the gravity of the matchup. But man, he made so many big catches in big spots, third downs, and especially on that final drive with Gardner Minshew, he just came the ball. And I think it's about time DeVonta Smith starts getting talked about as if he is a number one, because I honestly believe he is.
You and I both, and shame on me. I should have been giving him more props all week long, and he may be the guy who helps get them.
He's not flashy, Jody. It's totally understandable. He's not a flashy guy at all. He doesn't talk too much. He just goes in with his lunch pail, get the job done, and lays low.
Yeah, but you talked about your bromance with him. Mine started at Alabama. I was talking up when he was still a Crimson Tide guy and won the Heisman Trophy when I said he was the best wide receiver Alabama had the year before when they had Judy and all those other guys. I said, I'll take DeVonta Smith over any of them, including Waddle.
Wow.
So my appreciation of DeVonta Smith has gone back a long time. And I've been shortchanging him this week, so shame on me. All right, we will not shortchange our next guest. We're going to give him his full 25 minutes with us. Very much looking forward to talking to him, the host of the JAKIB Media Philadelphia Eagles postgame show, usually from down the ocean. This past week, home studios. He got to take it easy, so we're going to make him jump on his home studio again. Mike Missanelli is going to join us next here on Birds 365.